Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday, November 6th, and this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Public Safety and Transportation Committee. We are being both audio and video recorded. And at the start of the meeting, I am joined by Councilors Lucas, Downs, and Block. We have three items before us that are all related to our fire department, and I think are pretty straightforward in nature. I imagine everyone is pretty tired and experiencing a lot of varied emotions to the events of the last 24 hours. And hopefully this evening's meeting can be pretty straightforward, and I imagine pretty quick, as I know it's an intense time. So without further ado, item 408-24, authorization to appropriate and expend $1 million to purchase PFAS-free firefighter gear. And I see that we have been joined by Chief Gentile, and would ask you, Chief, if you could introduce this. I also just want to note for the record, we've been joined by Councilor Bixby.
Thank you, Councilor. So yeah, we're looking for $1 million to provide every member of the fire department with PFAS-free bunker gear. Just very briefly, about 8 years ago, we made a pretty significant change in our bunker gear, trying to reduce our risk to PFAS. At the time, there was no gear available that was completely PFAS-free. Just this past August, a bill was passed that makes it mandatory for all gear to be PFAS-free starting in 2027. So with that bill being passed, and with the expectation of that bill being passed, we have manufacturers that are now bringing us PFAS-free bunker gear. So it's starting to become available. With this money we're hoping to secure, we're going to do a deep dive, make sure that we get the right PFAS-free bunker gear. This is kind of new gear, so we want to make sure we're getting that we find the right product. And if we can secure this money, we'll be ready to go when we find that product, to make sure that every firefighter has PFAS-free bunker gear.
Thank you. Could you tell us a little bit about the process that you intend to go through to identify that? And I just also want to note for the record, we've been joined by Councilor Wright, and then Councilor Downs. I'll recognize you in just a second. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, so I was actually a big part of the process that we used 8 years ago. So there's a lot of factors when it comes to bunker gear. With them all being PFAS-free, we can take that element out of it. That was something that we were really looking at strongly at the time. But it's kind of a balancing act between protection and being able to breathe. So we all know that the bunker gear is supposed to protect us from heat. But another big factor is allowing body heat to escape. If not, you try to reduce the risk of heat stress on the individual who's working in that gear. All gears NFPA certified. No manufacturer is going to sell anything that's not NFPA certified. So that's the first checkbox that we use. But then we kind of try to do that balancing act with the weight of the gear, the flexibility of the gear, the amount that it breathes, so to speak, and then the protection factor. Of course, you look at things like costs and availability, and factor all those items in.
Thank you, Councilor Downs.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Chiefs, for coming. This near and dear to my heart, as I imagine it is not advisable for you to be in contact with PFAS-laden gear on a regular basis. It's $1 million. Is that a ceiling? And how many we're getting a bunker gear for each firefighter or each member of the fire department? How many are we looking to purchase?
Just under 200.
Under 200, okay.
Yeah, just under 200.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that does it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. And Chief, given that you're going to undertake a process from here, how did you arrive specifically at this number? And is there a range that you might expect to land on at the conclusion of your research as to what the actual cost of the gear is going to be?
So what we did was we took the cost of our gear now and we spoke with the manufacturer and tried to come up with the best estimate that we could as to what this gear is going to cost. The truth of the matter is some of the gear that we're looking at is not even out yet. It's not even available yet. And we probably will wait a little while to see as many iterations of this gear as we can. So it was not an easy task. It's why it's kind of a round figure and just an estimate, but it is the best estimate that we could come up with right now. The reason that we're coming so early, we have positioned ourselves to be, kind of at the top of the line to get this gear. So when it becomes available, we want to be ready to go. There's going to be a lot of communities looking to get PFAS-free bunker gear. So we're hoping to have the financial aspect of it ready to go. That way, when we choose the gear, when we go through our process, we're ready to go. We're ready to make that purchase.
Okay, that makes sense. Councillor Lucas and then Wright.
Thank you, Chair. Chief, you said it was about approximately 200 personnel who will require the PFAS-free equipment, let's just call it, uniforms. That's about $5,000 a person. And I know you were just going over talking with your current uniform and how much that costs with the manufacturer, but 5,000, is that in the ballpark?
That's I think 8 years ago, I want to say it was 3,800 if I'm doing it off the top of my head. And it's gone up considerably in the past, really in the past, well, since 2020. So we've seen a significant increase. We do have a great program that we started a couple years ago to replace bunker gear. Bunker gear is good for 10 years. And we have a kind of an internal program where we're able to replace a number of sets every year. And that's really so that it's designed so we don't have to come to council and ask for this big figure, every 10 years or every 5 years or so. We do that every year within the budget. And we replace the gear. Of course, we've had to replace less and less gear or ask for more and more in that budget with these increases. But yeah, those numbers are right.
Okay. And so let's say we expend the money, we purchase approximately 200 sets of the bunker gear, and it goes to a firefighter. If, let's say, the firefighter retires, what happens to that bunker gear? Is it reused? Do we sell it, or I don't know, what do we do with the gear?
Most of the time it's reused. There's a factor they can only increase or decrease sizes by a certain percentage. Obviously if it's made for it, they are custom fit, but there is some flexibility with that. Once somebody retires, we do try to give it to somebody, like-sized and make some adjustments. If not, then it becomes somebody else's backup set, which we do. We do try to get everybody a backup set, and we'll start that process right away with like I was explaining with the budget, with our own budget to purchase a second set as well.
Okay, and if, let's say, someone retires, there's a spare bunker set gear, it doesn't fit the new firefighter. You have money in the budget to purchase a brand new set for that firefighter?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And just forgive me, it's a jacket, pants, boots, helmet. Is that what
Yeah,
I'm?
so this is
Okay.
actually just for the pants and the helmet. Excuse me, the pants and the jacket. So we're not
Okay.
including the helmet and the boots. The helmet and the boots are PFAS free now, so we're not. That's not really part of this purchase.
Okay, thank you. I'm all set.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Chief Gentile. How long does it last before it needs to be replaced? I may have missed that. I was a little late.
So it usually makes it to 10 years. NFPA standards say 10 years. It usually lasts the 10 years. You know, depending on a couple tough fires and we may need to take a look at it and replace it, but most of the time it's 10 years.
So if we're getting like 200 now, so in 10 years, will we need another probably $1.5 million or something? Or is there some type of, being part of your budget and just naturally replacing it so many every year?
So we have an item in our budget to replace every year. So, and the reason for that is so that we don't have to come to council and ask for a big, a big one-time purchase. So I don't. The only reason we're coming here is because of the new gear that's PFAS free. We don't intend to come back for another large purchase. We think that the operating budget will be able to handle the replacement from here on in.
Okay, I'm very supportive of this. I wish we were PFAS free in a lot of other areas with our children playing on artificial turfs and adding artificial turf, but wish we'd get rid of that just like we're doing for the fire department. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands at this time. Do we have any other questions or comments, or is there a motion on this item?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Councillor Lucas. Any other discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I
I'm
believe we have one recusal.
one
Councillor Block,
recusal.
yes?
That's me. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. We are going to move on. Obviously, that item was approved. So we are going to move on to item 414-24, authorization to appropriate and expend $75,000 for the fire shift commander's vehicle replacement. Chief.
Thank you. So we are looking for $75,000 to replace the shift commander vehicle. This is an SUV that we use. The shift commander, which is a deputy chief and is in charge of the city on a day-to-day basis, responds to over 3,000 calls per year. The SUV that is currently using is a 2019 Expedition with over 60,000 miles or 60,000 miles on it. This vehicle, that vehicle would trickle down to to be the backup for this, which we use in big events, or if the first vehicle is out of service, and ultimately the trickle down effect would lead to the replacement of a 2009 Ford Taurus, which has over 100,000 miles on it. I think I covered everything. If anybody has any questions, be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Chief, could you tell us a little bit more about what type of vehicle you expect this is going to be?
So it does hold some equipment. So it's a larger SUV. We've purchased Expeditions for the past 3 or 4 of them. So something in that size range is probably appropriate. Expedition or Tahoe, something like that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Chair. Chief, quick question. What's going to happen to the Ford Taurus?
Yeah, so the Ford Taurus, I'd have to check with the mechanic on the condition of that. The last couple cars we actually just I guess we call it junked. They weren't, there was no value to them.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure with this. We haven't had our mechanic kind of go through it and see if it's worth. But if it is worth, we'd go through the surplus process or the auction process that the police use.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have other comments or questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councillor Downs. Any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
Aye.
abstentions? That
Another-
was
Another recusal from me, Chair.
Thank you. So we have a recusal from Counselor Block. I believe Counselor Lucas, that was an aye. Right? Okay. So that motion carries and that's approved. Thank you. We're going to go on to item 415-24, authorization to appropriate and expend $1.8 million for fire ladder truck 3 replacement. Chief, let me turn it to you.
Awesome. I'll
Assistant
take
Chief.
this one.
Sure. It's all
Yeah,
you.
thanks. I'll give you a break.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we are requesting 1,800,000 for a replacement of our ladder 3. Our ladder 3 is housed in Newton Corner at Station 1 on Craft Street, not Craft Street, sorry, Church Street. This will end up being a spare. We keep our spare apparatus for the same reasons as we keep our spare cars. If it has to go into the shop, we use that spare. We were able to design with the manufacturer a new ladder truck that is a foot smaller than we've previously bought, keeping in mind narrowing of streets and maneuverability. We were able to do this without changing the overall ladder on top of the truck. It is still going to be 103 feet long. And we were also able to accomplish this without taking away any cabinet space that we need for equipment. These trucks carry a lot of equipment, so we need that space. I just got off the phone this morning. The time period for a delivery of a ladder truck right now is 3 to 3 years out. And this is pretty consistent with every fire truck manufacturer out there. They all say they are about this time out. I wish it would be quicker. We are going to get our delivery of engine 7, which has been pushed back a few months, but within a few months, and we had to wait a long time for that truck also. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So I guess the question that we asked before is somewhat relevant here again. Obviously, it's $1.8 million, and we wouldn't see this truck for 2.5 to 3 years. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
What is the reasoning for approving or seeking the request today?
To start the process kind of goes, you sit down with the manufacturer, you design the truck, you have a few meetings to tweak some of the small stuff, and then they come up with a number or a figure, and then we move forward with that, and we just get in line, just like you would behind anyone else. And when our time comes up, they will build the truck and then send it when it's ready.
Okay, but I assume this money would essentially be held in reserve until such time as you actually need to hand it over to purchase the truck.
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Yo, I see you have your hand raised. Do you want to talk about that?
Just thank you very quickly, Madam Chair, that in order to order the truck, we need the money. So, the way we work with the comptrollers, there needs to be a fund with money in it before we can place the order, and then they start working on it. So it's weird that it's several years out. It's sort of unusual, but we need to have a funding source. It's not that different from building a building. You need to have the money first before you sign contracts to get it done. So.
And the
Thank
money
you.
will collect interest in the meantime.
Yes,
the
all of our money
way
collects
money
interest.
we
Yes.
hold. Okay.
We
All
love,
right.
love interest right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Downs.
Thanks, Chair. So I'm very supportive of this, and I am delighted that you were able to find a smaller truck. Keep going. We've got some really narrow streets in Ward 5. You're going to have to get your ladders down, and it would be, and I'm sure also in Momentum, and it would be great if our trucks could arrive quickly. Thanks.
Thank you. Counselor Lucas.
Thank you. So this is about 2.5, 3 years out. I assume we're putting in the order now so that it will be ready in 3 years, because that's when you expect the one that it's being replaced is gonna go into the backup role, right? Am I getting this?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm fine, thank you.
And I did
Okay.
ask them also why, it was so long. You can imagine they didn't really give me a good answer. But, I tried.
Yeah, I understand, because when I bought a car a couple years ago, a Corolla, it was like a 6-month backlog. So just for a regular Corolla, so I understand.
Thank you. And I assume that now that we see that this one is going to take 2.5 to 3 years, and given the letter that you wrote in the backup about how we look to replace an apparatus about every 15 years, will we get a jump start on the next one a little bit earlier than you may have expected, or are you okay with, the timing as this is coming?
I certainly think we can certainly get a jump start in the process of building, designing. I'm not sure how fast we can move anything else, but the designing, we absolutely should have it ready to go right away.
No, I more just meant that whatever the next truck is that needs to be replaced, because I see this one is 15 years old, and if it's supposed to be replaced every 15 years, it's going to be 17 to 18 years before it's replaced. I don't know that that's the end of the world, but perhaps in this state that we're in, we may need to see another request a few years earlier than you would have otherwise planned. I don't know from the administration's perspective and the financial perspective and budgeting, if that makes sense. I just hate to see you have to
It's a
wait
good
3 years.
question. It's a good question. I get it. We try in the CIP, we look at the dates, and we carefully schedule out all of the vehicles that need to be replaced in the fire department in particular. And it's about funding sources. So if we're going to bond something and we have bond capacity to do that, we'll get your approval to do that. But again, this 2 to 3 year thing has gotten worse than it used to be. I don't know, Mike, was there like a year and a half maybe, and now
About a year and a half.
it's like doubled now, and we're just learning this. I think in the future we can always try to start things sooner. The free cash only comes when it comes. So last year we spent a lot of free cash on some other very, very, very high priority matters, including funding our schools. So we work closely with the fire department to schedule the funding, and then we look at what possible funding sources there are to make sure they have their equipment largely in line with the federal guidance. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
I know everybody's doing their best in a changing environment around
Yep.
the timing, and it's tricky about matching up the sources of funds with the timing. So appreciate that. Councilor Wright, you had a question.
And which firehouse is this going to go to?
This is going to be Station 1 in Newton Corner on Church Street.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands. Are there any other questions, comments, or is there a motion on this item?
Motion to
Move it.
approve.
Councilor Wright has moved approval. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Any
No.
recusals?
One more recusal.
Okay, thank you. So we have approval on that item as well. And that concludes our business for this evening. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance. Chief, Assistant Chief, thank you so much for coming in and presenting these items. Wish you all a good night.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.